On April 24th of 2015, Apple started shipping the Apple Watch. A couple weeks after that, I received mine, so it's been about a year since I've had my Apple Watch. I kind of want to give you my review, my 1-year look back at the Apple Watch to see if it's worth it. So I think the first primary question to ask is this something that you wear every single day? If it's not, obviously it's not a product that's really going to change the way you work and therefore isn't going to be worth it. So preliminarily, yes, I actually do wear mine every single day for a couple reasons. There are a few features that I love, absolutely love having access to immediately. So it's obviously message notifications, for me, weather and calendar. So I can glance and I can see instantly that I have no more calendar events for today, that it's 84 degrees, and then I have a text message that I'm going to reply to after this video is finished. It's incredibly useful and time-saving to have access to this. On the few days where I forget to charge my watch or I'm doing something where I don't want to wear a watch, it's actually kind of annoying that I don't have access to that. I'll glance on my wrist without even thinking about it to check the weather or to see, who's texting me. And instead I have to go to my iPhone, take that out, and go to the specific application or whatever that I'm trying to do. So in that regard, I find it incredibly useful. But it's really just best to give me the alerts about notification, whether that's a notification about receiving a text message, whether that's being able to quickly glance and see the weather. Interacting or, for instance, responding is cumbersome. It's slow. Sometimes the dictation takes a really long time to process into words, and other times it doesn't work at all, so I have to try again. Sometimes it works, but the words are incorrect, and there's no quick and easy way to go back and fix it. So sometimes it just doesn't work as seamlessly as you need it to work. But in regards to just getting the notification, the information just popping up at you, it works incredibly easily. The next thing I kind of want to talk about are the bands. This is the Milanese Loop. I also have a sports band. I alternate between them depending on what I'm doing that day. If I'm going to the gym, obviously I'll wear the sports band. That's a very simple use case. If I'm going to work or to a job interview or something like that, obviously I'd wear the Milanese Loop. It just looks classier. It's really easy to swap them out and put the other ones on and off, which I think is nice. The problem is, plain and simple, the Apple bands are just too expensive. I really like the idea of being able to swap bands in and out so that you can use it in a lot of different situations, so you can match your clothing, whatever you're doing. But at the price points that Apple sets, it's just too expensive to have more than 1 or 2 bands. And I think that kind of defeats the purpose of being able to, the way Apple markets it, swap bands in and out depending on, the season, depending on your clothing, depending on what you're doing. Obviously, what's kind of nice is that third-party bands are able to come in and kind of supplement that. But I think if Apple really wanted to make this appealing to have bands that you frequently swap in and out, they'd have to lower their price points. I think even beyond bands, I think one of the biggest issues, and this kind of goes back to interacting with the device and issues that I previously mentioned with it, but applications. So first and foremost, they're slow, not really that useful, and they're just nothing that I can't already do on my phone. So one thing that I really thought would be nice, okay, the Uber app. Cold Boston winter, I won't have to take my phone out to call an Uber if I need to go somewhere and I'm outside. Okay, there's an Uber app for the Apple Watch, but it's incredibly slow. It's so much faster if I just take my phone out and request the Uber from my phone. So what's the point of using it on my watch when it's just going to be more of a pain in the butt than the phone? I've yet to find an app for the watch that's unique or better than the iPhone version. And I think if that's the case, there's no real reason to own an Apple Watch. If there's nothing new that's going to provide in terms of apps, in terms of convenience, why would you need another device? I think that's a huge problem. Certainly something that they're going to address with the presumptive second-generation Apple Watch, but currently this is a huge, huge problem. One thing that I do like, though, I like having data. So one big piece of data that this provides me is health data. Having access to this data is interesting. For instance, you wouldn't think that it's going to impact your daily life, right? Seeing how many steps you take. To me, it actually does. And I'll tell you a perfect example of it. Usually I just take the train when I'm going into the city, for instance, to go to class. When I started wearing my watch, I realized that I'm going to 100% meet all my step goals for the day if I walk to campus. So what does that mean? Well, now I prefer to walk to campus when I'm going there if it's, not freezing or extremely hot, because I can see that, okay, I'm going to reach that calorie burn or step burn or whatever it has set. It's really kind of an interesting thing that it has this, impact on me. But I think always having data, for some people like me, is very helpful in driving tasks, in this case, driving walking. Certainly, it's extremely useful for cardio workouts, for getting time, for getting distance traveled, for getting calorie burn, etc. It's very useful for that. Something that I do more than that, which would be strength training, it's not as useful for. I think that there's a potential in the future to find an application that does a really good job at, say, tracking weight training, strength training exercises. I've yet to find one that's really good. Again, going back to the apps, I've yet to find one that does a better job than just using the Body Space app, for instance, on my iPhone. So why am I going to do something that's more cumbersome? One of the reasons why I thought having an Apple Watch would be great is because I could use it for working out without my iPhone. I could get Bluetooth, headphones that would attach to my watch. I could have an app on the watch that I'm going to be able to use to track my workouts. I've yet to kind of get there with the Apple Watch. One other thing that I'd like to mention, so as you know, there's a couple different versions of the Apple Watch. There's the Edition, which is incredibly expensive. I'm not really going to even talk about it. There's then the Sport and the regular edition. The Sport is made out of an aluminum case, the regular edition a stainless steel case. I have the stainless steel finish, and it actually scratches pretty easily. I have a little scratch on the display, and then on the chassis of the module itself, of the watch itself, I have a couple scratches on there. If this is something that you are going to use for working out, whether you just really want to have it right now, or if, presumptively the second generation version comes out, you're probably going to want to go with the Sport version if you're working out, because it's going to be less scratch prone. Ideally, probably the black finish Sport model, I think, is the perfect combination of price, scratch protection, and just appearance. So, that's just my quick thoughts a year later after using the Apple Watch. Like I said, there are some good things about it. Certainly, I get a lot of value from having instant access to my notifications, weather, calendar, certainly time, and there's some customizable ways to set up the watch faces if that's something that you're interested in. So there's a lot of value to it, and I certainly appreciate the fitness data. Like I said, it's actually impacted some of my daily life. But I think there's a lot more that Apple can do in terms of fitness, in terms of data collection, in regard, to different sensors on the watch. And I think that's something that moving forward they're going to have. But overall, there needs to be a more refined app catalog. There needs to be a faster processor. You need to be able to have Apple Watch only functions that make it so much better of an experience than the phone. That could be a unique experience. That could mean it's faster and more convenient, but it just needs to be different and better than the iPhone version of the app, because otherwise you just use the iPhone version. There's no reason to use the watch. That's something that you have to have, moving forward, is a very refined app catalog. And you can see that with Windows Phone, how their lack of app catalog, which is driven by a lot of factors, but their lack of app catalog has caused fewer people to buy it, which has caused their market share to shrink, which has caused fewer app developers to develop for it, and now it's just a fleeting platform. So obviously that's a huge issue. I think the bottom line, end of the day, too long didn't read version of this is that although I think the Apple Watch brand moving forward has a lot of potential, and although I think that the Apple Watch has some utility now, I just don't think it's worth buying. I think you can get a cheaper fitness tracker from, say, Fitbit, if you want to track your steps, or you want to track your cardio, even some more advanced fitness trackers that allow some sort of notification pushing from your device to the fitness tracker itself. That's going to be much cheaper than buying an Apple Watch, and I think it's going to give you the best features of the Apple Watch. The most significant reasons why I enjoy it can be gotten at a lower price point in a smaller device. Like I said, I think there's potential, possibly a faster Apple Watch 2 that has more iPhone independence would be worth it. But I think right now, the Apple Watch just is not an appealing product to own, to buy. And I think that it's just not something that a year later really stands up to the promise that Apple made when it came out. So that's just my thoughts on the Apple Watch after a year of owning it. If, I'd love to hear your feedback. If you've owned an Apple Watch, if you've used an Apple Watch, let me know what you think. And if you haven't, use one. If you have any questions, let me know, or give me some feedback regardless. Thanks for watching.